guys, welcome back to Crazy Crochet Mama. Good to see you back again. If you're back again, or if you're here for the first time, welcome. Glad you are here. As the name implies, I am eventually going to be crocheting. But for right now, until I kind of get my bearings, I am focusing on some paper crafting. So today I am making a card for a friend of mine who is celebrating a milestone, and so I'm gonna share with you guys a really funny anecdote of something that I did to myself when I was younger. So my name is Sue, and I am an avid crafter, and I have gone through several periods of my life where I have tried to declutter. You know, when I was about 22, maybe 21, I had gotten going again on decluttering. I had kept a bunch of stuff from high school because apparently I was gonna go on to take graduate level courses and use my high school papers as source material for the papers. And you know, just a bunch of other stuff that I was trying to get rid of. And so, you know, this was back in 2001 or 2000. You know, the idea of identity theft was starting to really become like an actual concern for people. So one of the things I had to get rid of were these checks from a bank account that was no longer active. And the backstory, so I had these checks. I had to get rid of them. You know, I didn't obviously want my identity to be stolen. So I was living with my mom at the time. She was living in an unincorporated part of town. And there was no lawn pickup. So like there was no yard waste pickup. And there was also, they were not able to burn anything. So there was no, you couldn't like burn the leaves or anything. And so I decided, well, what's the best way to get rid of checks? You know, you could shred them. Sure. That's a pretty conventional idea. You know, there are a number of ways that you could get rid of them, but my particular preferred method, the thought that occurred to me on that night in October, was to burn them, because what else are you going to do? You know, it really nothing else makes sense but to burn them. So my mom had this shed in her backyard, and I went behind the shed where they had already done some cleanup in the yard. So there was some leaves and branches and stuff, and I went behind the shed, and I had these checks down on the ground on the slab, and I said, you know, I took a lighter because I was smoking at the time, so I took a lighter, and I was like, great, you know, like, we'll just burn these suckers, like, no big deal, you know. And I'm sure some of you already know where the story is going, because it was October, and I live in the Chicago suburbs, and it was quite windy, because that's what happens in October. And so the checks were not burning fast enough, and I said, gosh, what can I do that is going to make these checks burn faster? Well, obviously, the only logical answer is lighter fluid. So went back in the shed, got some lighter fluid. I was like, sure, you know, this all seems kosher. This all, you know, seems like a good idea. So I poured some lighter fluid, CONGR. I gotta redo this. I put the lighter fluid on the checks, and you know, for those of you who have even like half a brain, I'm sure you can see the flaw in the plan. I I poured some lighter fluid on, and pretty quickly the situation got real out of control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was aghast. I mean, this was not at all something that I had accounted for or even considered as being a possibility. C-O-N-G-R-A-T. So, you know, I, at this point, it was spreading pretty quickly, as you might imagine, on a blustery day in October. It was spreading quite quickly. And the problem was that, you know, I didn't want my mom to find out, you know, because that would be the worst, obviously. Not that I'm setting fire to a structure, but the fact that my mom might find out, like, that's a disaster. So my brother was home at the time. My brother is 3.5 years younger than I am. Comes to the back slider, and he says, he's talking to me as I'm grabbing the garden hose, and he says, shouldn't we call 911? And I was like, no, I've got this, you know. So I very quickly tried to take the garden hose from the back porch to the shed, which was just, it's as comical as it sounds, because it did not reach number 1 and number 2. It was just ill-advised from jump. So I ended up having to, I just decided at that point to cut bait. So at the time, my parents were separated, I think divorced at that time. And my dad was living across state lines. It was very close to the Wisconsin border, which is where he was living at the time. And so I decided, well, I know when I've been defeated, so I'm gonna go up to see my dad. I'm gonna stay with my dad because, you know, why wouldn't you? And the problem there was that as I was getting ready to leave, the fire engines arrived and blocked me in, so I was not able to make the hasty exit that I had been hoping for, which, you know, was disappointing. Although comical for the rest of my block, because the thing was that the power got cut to my mom's house because the shed, there was a power line like right over top of where the connecting from the house to the shed. And yeah, so that is the story of me burning down the shed at my mom's house. The funny postscript to that story is that when my mom woke up and she smelled smoke in the house, she got upset because she thought I was smoking in the house, which I was absolutely forbidden to do. And so in her mind, like, it was bad enough that it was smoking in the house, you know. Little did she realize that indeed what was happening was a structure on her property was being burned to the ground. I honestly don't even remember. What's so funny is, like, once I realized that the fire was beyond human aid, that was when I had decided to, like, cut bait. So I didn't even get to see the whole thing burn down. I didn't get to see you know, because I was, like, in my car talking to a friend, like, trying to be consoled about the absolute disaster that I had brought on my mom's house. So, and, you know, just if I just had a picture of, like, the look on my brother's face, because we are both really book smart. We're kind of not so much with the, like, common sense, but even in his limited common sense brain, you know, his thought was absolutely right, which is that we should call 911. And yeah, I had it. I was going to take care of it, you know. So yeah, for years after that, my mom would, whenever anybody came over to my mom's house while she was still living there, she would take them to the 3-season room, or the screened-in porch off the back of the house, and show them. That's where the shed used to be that my daughter burned down. So, I mean, that's one good thing about my mom, is that I never forget things because she never lets me. But yeah, so plenty of my friends got regaled with the cement slab where the shed used to live. So needless to say, I have never quite lived that story down. It is hilarious, just the thought of like me standing there and my brother just being like, hey, let's make just one phone call real quick, you know. And I was like, no, I got this. I think about my younger daughter, or my older daughter, when she was about 8 months old, we took her in to do swimming lessons, and she would push us away. You know, she was so desperate to get into the pool that she would like push us away, and we'd get into the pool with her, and you know, she'd be slapping the water with one arm, and in a way to say like, I got this, I don't need your help, I'm 8 months old, I'm fully capable of swimming in an adult-sized pool all by myself, you know. And so that's what I think of when I think of me going to get the hose, the garden hose at my mom's house. Was that same idea, like, nope, all I need right now is a garden hose, and that will be the extent of it. I'll have it taken care of, you know. So that, yeah, like I said, I will not soon be living that story down. I just recently told my coworkers about that story, and they thought it was heartily hilarious. You know, it's one of those things that my brain, I understand now why, you know, brains are not fully formed until I think, what is it, like 25 years. And this is one of those instances where I can fully relate to the idea, to the thought that that our brains are, you know, impulse control, all of those important functions. Maybe I should just write it in marker. Are still working on getting all of those thought processes and everything figured out. So I make sure that I give my kids a lot of grace when it comes to their decision making processes. You know, my older daughter is in dance, and I finally asked her, because she didn't tell me right away, you know, what is the cause of the shoulder pain. And so finally she said, oh, well, I was at dance and I tried to do a one-armed cartwheel and it didn't quite work, you know. And you know, there's a part of me that's like, you are ramping up for your studio's yearly production of the Nutcracker. I would think that it would be a priority to take the best care possible of yourself physically so you can perform when it's time to do that. And that was just not something that occurred to her, you know. So I want to get angry and I want to say, like, what were you thinking? But again, she's a 13-year-old girl. She's not thinking very much. And that's okay, because I don't think very many people do have a lot of healthy and complete thought processes when they are that age. So I know I did some I'm sure that I got myself into some pickles when I was 13. I just don't happen to remember them, because the ones that happened when I was 21 or 22 are much more hilarious. So, so as you see, this is, I used a kind of, what I like to do when I make cards is I like to do the kind of mixed media. I like the idea of having like a 3-dimensional. So these, and these are, I don't even know what they're called. They're by, again, I don't even know if this place is still around. But they're adhesive tags by Sticko. And then they've got the alphabet sticker on top of them. So you have a little bit of that dimension. And then, you know, I kind of like my handwriting. I was going to look for some alphabet stickers, but I think the handwriting fits. And I could put some embellishments here. I do sometimes struggle, but I think it's good to have some negative space. And I can't think of anything immediately that comes to mind. I could do some, oh yeah, I could do some of these. That might be good. I have some good colored flowers over here. That might work. Like on the, oh yeah, those would be cute. Those would be cute. Not blue and red, because, ew. I'll do these. These and these. There we go. So, yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to film today and share that anecdote with you, and just, you know, try to do some crafting. I need to get my Crojo back. That's what crocheters talk about, you know, just that crocheting mojo and trying to, it's been a little while since I've embarked on a project, and that always, you know, the way that my brain works now is that I get overwhelmed, and, you know, I feel like there's so many things that I could be making, and how do I decide on which thing I'm going to be making? And, you know, it gets very overwhelming for me. And so it's, oh, I don't like, wait, it's too much. I kind of like, let's see. You know, I get overwhelmed by the amount of projects. I like the Crochet Crowd. That's typically where I go to find my, like, a crochet along or a pattern that I really like. You know, it's a little bit difficult for me to get started. What I like to do is try to find a project that I can work on, you know, kind of mindlessly. And sometimes that's easier said than done. You know, what I hate doing is just wasting time by sitting and watching TV, although I do think that there is a place for that. So, yeah, so I'm working towards it. I felt like this was something realistic that I could be working on now. And then, you know, as I find my feet a little bit more, I can start working on some crochet projects and kind of showing you what that looks like too. I'll have to see if I can. I'm also on TikTok at Crazy Crochet Mama. I should probably show off some of my, and I probably should be on Instagram. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to kind of figure out how prolific I want to be on social media, because especially during the holidays, it's really hard for me. You know, with my depression and anxiety, it's hard for me to be on social media too much because I tend to internalize things too much. So, but I will figure out a way to get that out there. And yeah, I like that. Ooh, I like how that turned out. That was a good idea. Okay, all right. So yeah, so there we go. So I'm gonna get this in the mail to my friend today. And hopefully she enjoys it. You know, I love making these. I feel like it's kind of a neat thing. You know, I love greeting cards that you buy from the store, but I also like ones that that I make because they're unique. They're different. You're not going to find anything else like this out there. And it's a great way to celebrate my friend. So thank you guys so much for coming in and spending time with me today. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to help me grow my channel, I would really appreciate it. And drop a note in comments if you have any questions, or if you want to connect with me. I'd love to connect with you and answer any questions you might have.